And we should be live. Okay. Uh hey everyone. It's been a few days since I've uh done a stream. I think the last stream was, what was it, last Thursday? Probably before that, I think last Wednesday. It's been almost a week. Yeah, I've had a few relatively busy days at work, so I decided to put this on the back burner for the time being. Thursday and Friday especially were pretty ass. Like, yeah, we had I had a lot of work. Was working fairly late on both days. So yeah, and on the weekend, I don't know. I just didn't feel like it. I just wanted to to do some other stuff. Didn't want to sit and code. So, which is I think another good thing in general, which is that you shouldn't really you shouldn't really force yourself to write software if you don't feel like it. You shouldn't really force yourself to do anything if you don't feel like it, really. But that applies doubly to software. It really applies because for the most part, you this is a thinking activity, right? Like, it's just you're trying to figure out how to solve a problem and you're trying to express it in a language that's not really built for humans. I'm not talking about Kotlin here. I'm talking about computer languages as a whole, right? It's things which are expressed in computer languages aren't exactly built in the same way your brain thinks. We try to get close all the time. With higher and higher level languages, we try to model very accurately what exactly goes on in a person's head on the computer screen, right? We try to get it in such a way that you should be able to understand. Just looking at a program, a well-written program, you should be able to just sort of read through it and sort of figure out what exactly it's doing. But part of that is, of course, with the way software is written, just like even with English text, right? Even with text in any human natural language, you're gonna read it, and if it's well written, you're gonna understand it like really quickly. You're either gonna understand it or you're gonna enjoy it, depending on the kind of content that it is, right? If it's like a well written research paper, for instance, you're gonna understand it pretty quickly when you just read it. And you don't have to like go back and forth. You don't have to puzzle your head over what exactly is. Meanwhile, if it's poorly written, that's gonna be a factor, right? If it's poorly written, you're gonna have a lot more trouble reading it. You're gonna have a lot more trouble parsing that information and trying to get it into your head. And I hope my mic sounds fine, by the way. Like, this is a new mic that I have. This is my mic now. This I own this. I bought this. I'm no longer using the mic. I bought it from my friend. Uh, and yeah, I think to some extent this should be. It's probably not as good as the previous one because it costs a lot less. It costs about half the other mic. But at the same time, I think it should be good enough. The recordings I've done are good enough. If you guys see any issues, please let me know in the chat. Please let me know in the comments. And we can fix that. We can try and figure out how to fix it, right? So yeah, but for now, this is the first stream I'm doing with this new mic. This arrived a while ago, actually. This arrived on, I think, the 17th. No, the 18th, 17th. I don't know. It's been almost a week. But yeah, I've been using it for work. I've been using it for Discord, chatting with friends while playing games, stuff like that. But I haven't really streamed with it yet. So this is the first time. I just decided, fuck it, let's just go with it and do things. So yeah, and this is gonna be I don't know. Like, I'm guessing like it's gonna be slightly shorter. It's definitely gonna be shorter than that 3 hour stream I did last. I don't I don't think I have it in me today to go for 3 hours on this. But at the same time, we are gonna try to get some solid work done, some solid progress, and we will try and implement a little bit of functionality for the first time. Because last time we were kind of occupied in trying to get Gradle to work. We were trying to, we were just trying to get the system to build itself, really. And now that that's working, right, so we can just run this test. I just ran this like 10 minutes ago, but there we go, right? One should equal itself, and that's right. And we can make this test fail by just making one into two. And if I run it, it is gonna fail. Of course, it has to recompile this file, so it takes a little bit longer. And there we go. It fails because it says expected 1 but was 2, because that's the assertion that we have written. Of course, let's just revert that, right? So yeah, and we'll run that test, and again we should have it pass. I can see that running it via Gradle for some reason is making things a little bit slower. Like, I'm generally used to having tests compile and run like really quickly. I think what's happening here, at least my best guess of it, I don't know if it's right or not, is that if you run the test using just IntelliJ, like IntelliJ has its own sort of test runtime. What IntelliJ is doing behind the scenes is really it's just compiling your code as you write it. So you don't actually have to compile when you run the test build. Uh, IntelliJ is always compiling it. So when you run the test, it's just, hey, your code is already compiled, right? It's already compiled and it's already sitting there just ready to go. So you click test and it just, just works, just runs. But I think what's happening with Gradle here is that it's not actually configured that way. Like it's not doing like a live compilation. It's not always compiling. It's just compiling the moment we hit one of the build targets. Like whenever we hit a build target that depends on the build task, and we will sort of go over what all of that is if that's needed. But for the most part, just figure out that, any test that runs is just gonna compile the code first. If the code has changed, it's gonna compile the code and then it's gonna run the tests. Meanwhile, if I just rerun this, it should run a lot faster. Actually, it's taking approximately the same amount of time. But since I changed this, right, and I ran this, it took a little bit longer. Maybe it was just trying to warm up. I don't know. Maybe that's what happened. I'm not really sure. But yeah, this is what it says, right? It just spews out a bunch of shit and then it goes expected 1, but the actual was 2 because that's what we set it as, right? So okay, so this is just dummy code, really. This is not doing anything. We are gonna get started and write actual code, but before that we have one other thing that we need to do, which is basically that we need to set up a Git repository for it. And the reason we're doing that is so that we can actually track our code over time and we can kind of keep, have an idea of exactly what we're working on at any given point of time, because we might, in fact, not might, I'm pretty sure that we will end up doing this, where we will be working on probably multiple things at once. We'll try and test out 3 or 4 things at the same time. And when we do that, what's going to happen is that we will sort of split the branch that we're working on, right? We will split off that branch of development. We will go on to a separate parallel branch and we will write some code in there. And eventually, once we're satisfied with what that is, we will merge these branches back, right? So this is something that we're going to do. We will have a lot of throwaway branches. We will have a bunch of branches that we actually do want to merge in. And that's going to make up the bulk of our code, the bulk of our effort, really. So it's a really, 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 really good thing to always create a Git repository to track your code before you even start, right? So before you start, please do create a Git repository, and that should make it easier for you to sort of set up things. And, it even acts as a backup for you, which is really great. So there are a bunch of positives which come along with it. I will cover a few of those as I go along, but for the most part, I really encourage, if you haven't used Git before, or if you have used Git but aren't really sure of what it does, I would encourage you go look it up, read about it. There are fantastic resources that you can find. One is, of course, the Git book, which is basically this one, gitsem.com/book right here, right? So this is one of those things that I would highly recommend you read if you have the time, because this actually covers a lot of things. This covers everything involving Git. You don't need like a bunch of this stuff. Like even I haven't actually read anything about, well, really beyond chapter 5, I would say. Actually, no, I have read a part of chapter 7. I haven't really read chapter 6 because I do use GitHub. As you can see, there are some, GitHub links already open, but I sort of use GitLab as my primary. So for the most part, you don't actually need to read these parts or even customizing Git and all that stuff. All of this is like really advanced. And by the time you get here, you'll sort of have an idea of what is advanced and what is, what consists of the basics. But all the basics, branching, all of this stuff, you really need to understand to some extent and kind of, just go over that. So I would highly recommend that, as well as this is different, by the way. Git book is not what I'm talking about. It's this one, the Git book. So it's the book. It's also known as Pro Git, right? So Pro Git, written by Scott Chacon. I don't know how you pronounce that, but yeah. So Scott and Ben, they wrote this book, and you should read it if you have the time. Anyway, so let's get started. Let's get cracking. So What I use is git bash on Windows as my default terminal. So, come on. Hello? Oh, okay. No wonder. I have other things that start with the letter PL. I was wondering why the autocomplete didn't work. So, okay. So what we're gonna do here is we have all of these. So this is the same folder as we're in. We have all of this stuff. We have the source folder, the build, Gradle, all of this, right? So we have to figure out what out of this do we require to sort of keep for the purposes of committing into the repository, right? So I'm sorry, ls-a lh, yeah, whatever, right? So this has a bunch of folders. It has the Gradle, the .idea folder, and of course, like then you have the build folder, which has all the generated stuff. This is definitely not something that we're going to be committing, right? So because this is really important with Git, it's one of the things that you won't actually see mentioned in big bold letters in the book, but it should be, because it's really important. And it's one of those things I find, like, even people who are experienced enough with version control systems like Git mess up very often. It is basically the fact that you should never ever commit anything to Git which you don't want to track in the repository, like things that are your own configuration files, for instance, which track the paths maybe of executables which you use to kind of run your code. For instance, there will be a path to probably my Java home or something like that, right? So wherever my Java executable is, things like that. What you name your environment variables, maybe actually no, what you name your variables will be fine, but what the values are, and any sort of API keys and things like that should never ever be committed into the repository, because the general rule with Git is that once you commit something, it's there permanently, right? So things that aren't supposed to go there, it's better that you never put them on there in the first place. Again, there are recovery, there are ways to recover that. There are ways to delete stuff that you did put into a repository. There are ways to purge the entire repository of a particular file or of some particular data, but those are fairly complicated operations and really shouldn't be attempted by somebody who is just starting out with Git. I've spent a lot of time working on Git repositories. I have both fucked and unfucked a lot of repositories on Git. But even I'm not super confident about that, right? So even I'm not super confident, because the thing with those kinds of commands is that you don't use them often. And when you don't use them often, you have the capacity to make a mistake in them, right? Even when you look them up, even when you're very, very careful, there is still a chance that you will make a mistake and you will end up screwing up your repository permanently, which is really a bad thing. But that's the thing, like Git in general tries to keep information that has been committed permanent, and it has a lot of safeguards around that. So what's going to happen is, if you commit something that you were never supposed to commit, it's going to be there, and there is going to be some version. Like, you can always fix Git looking forward, on a forward looking basis. That is, you can fix Git, you can fix the state of the repository as it is now, and any future commits are going to be fixed, and that's fine. But what happens is, when there is a person who kind of checks out the repository state from sometime in the past, because they need to look at the code, right? And this happens a lot when you're actually working on larger projects with a lot more people, is that you often have to look back at the state of the code in the past to try and understand what exactly was the working state of the code at that point of time. And when you do that, when you sort of check out an older version of the repository, all of those problems, they kind of come back, right? Because it's really hard to sort of go and fix a Git repository to fix something throughout its history. So again, understand that before you commit even your first commit into Git, you kind of need to have this file called a git ignore, right? So okay, so there's a website called gitignore.io, but that's what it opened. I'm sorry. Let's just search. So it's supposed to be this file, which is called .gitignore, which exists in the root of your Git repository, which in our case is going to be this folder, the Plutus folder, right? So we're going to create a .gitignore file right there, and we are going to specify that we are running in IntelliJ, and we are also going to specify that we have a Gradle project. Maybe we might have to specify that we have a Kotlin project, but I don't think that should be necessary. I think, yeah. So let's just do that, right? So there is a generator for this, so called getignore.io. I think, actually, I don't know why it's, maybe TopTal bought it. TopTal is like, huh, okay. Oh, yeah. Yeah, they probably did buy it. Okay, interesting. Interesting. Okay. I don't know why they've redirected it there. It used to be just getignore.io. I think if I go to getignore.io, HTTPS, maybe. Oh yeah, it does redirect you. Okay, cool. This is news to me. It's been a long time since I initialized a Git repository. I'm sorry. So we operating systems IDs or programming languages. So we know. I'm sorry. We know we're using Gradle, and we know we're using IntelliJ, uh, and we know we're using Kotlin. Okay, let's create this and let's see what all get added in, right? So it's a bunch of stuff. So let me just copy this. And what I'm going to do is here, I am going to in Plutus, I'm going to right click. I'm going to create new file dot getignore. And here, I'm just going to paste all of this, right? In the dot getignore file that we are in right now. This is green because it's a test file, right? So this is the active file is always underlined with blue. That's the theme I'm using. I use high contrast. Not a lot of people like high contrast. I like it a lot though. So yeah, so let's just take a look at this, right? So I'm gonna collapse this. Yeah, okay. So let's just take a look at this and we will see what we need to keep in here and we will see what we need to remove, right? So this is all user specific stuff apparently. So stuff in the .idea folder is all user specific, at least the workspace, the tasks, we don't see a tasks thing. Okay, I know how the tasks file gets created. We can create that. I think in IntelliJ there is a setting for tasks, group tasks, tasks toolbar. I think this is the one. I think this is the one. Switch task, open task. Oh yeah, this is the one, right? So if I create a new task here, it's essentially, yeah, I don't know what the purpose of this is. This is some recent thing with IntelliJ. Not actually sure what it is, but yeah, but the thing is like that is again going to be personal to my machine essentially. So usage.statistics, that's usage statistics. Dictionaries, yeah, of course. You could have a shared dictionary again, like you may choose to commit this if you have certain terminology that you use with the rest of your team at your firm or something like that. You might want to commit that to to IntelliJ essentially, because it's going to be something which yeah, so if you want to share that with your team, like for example, like you have some jargon which you use at your firm, and what's going to happen is, say, whatever you have, say you have like some particular thing which is just, it's called a blog, right? So if you see you know if you see this, it's gonna say this, and there's a typo, right? Because there's no word called blog. But if it is a word that is used at your firm for some reason, you can always, just sort of right click that, and actually not right click. I think right click. No, I think alt enter. Yeah, for this, and typo rename to, and oh, I'm sorry. I just missed that option right there. Save blog to project level dictionary, right? So if I do this, it just gets added in, and this word doesn't have like one of those typo things anymore. So right now, of course, like, it's having a more pressing issue, which is that this variable is never used. I just declared it for no reason. So yeah, we can just get rid of that. But for the most part, yeah, that's what your dictionaries are. And shelf. Okay, yeah. So this is again an IntelliJ feature. We're not going to go into that. We won't require it when we're using Git. We will simply commit something instead of shelving it, right, in a separate branch. So we don't require the shelf, but whatever, right? So all of this can be ignored. Generated files. Yeah, generated files. Let's see. Content model.xml. Again, I don't really see that anywhere. Yeah, I don't know what that is. Sensitive or high churn files, these are okay. So these are like if you use specific IntelliJ features to actually generate something which shouldn't be committed because that data is sensitive or something like that. So whatever, we're just going to leave that in there. We don't have any such files, but we're just going to leave that in there in case in the future we actually come up with one. Okay, Gradle. Oh, there we go. Okay, so Gradle.xml. Okay, idea gradle.xml. Yeah, there we go. We are not supposed to commit this, right? Yeah, we're not supposed to commit this. So, okay, what does this say? Component, Gradle settings, distribution type, external project path. Yeah, I think this is something that is probably going to be specific to, or it's probably either going to be specific to each developer, or it's going to be generated by Gradle when we actually run the first build. So any file that is actually generated, we shouldn't be checking in. So yeah, that's that. And libraries, I don't actually see an idea/libraries in here. So yeah, again, we'll just leave that in. We don't have to worry about it. Gradle and Maven with auto import. You should exclude module files since they will be recreated and may cause churn. Uncomment if using auto import. I don't know what auto import is. Let's find out. Let's find out. Right. So we'll take our time with this. Actually, I'm gonna create a task for this so that we don't forget what we're doing. We will add more tasks to this as we come up. This is Super Productivity. It's an app. I'll talk more about this in a future episode because I don't really feel like going off on that tangent right now. We will add that task as well for some other time. Actually, let's just create a project for this. Oh yeah, I already have. I didn't realize that. Okay, there we go. We have, so it's Project Plutus. And so you can actually see that over here. Okay. Oh yeah. JUnit 5 was a thing I wanted to check out. We will schedule this for a later time. But for now, we will add one more task, which is gonna be, well, technically this is not gonna be anything specific, right? So what we're gonna do is we're gonna add okay. So yeah, talk about super productivity. Cool. And I'm gonna add that to a project called, oh yeah, I forgot. I have to create the project for that. So right click, add to a project. Oh, I can't do it from here. That's sad. Okay, let's do that. Let's create a project. Let's call this miscellaneous, and let's save this. And we will add to there. Okay, and we don't have to keep this today, so I'm just gonna take it out of that to-do tab. It's gonna still be here, right? So instead, so today we're just gonna be focusing on the Git setup, and probably we'll add more items here as we think of them. Okay, so why is this showing up? Remove section. I don't think I've ever actually noticed that before. Okay, so Gradle auto import, right? So I don't know why I keep mistyping that. So auto import. Okay. Not many results contain. What is Gradle auto import? I don't want to know how to disable it. Auto import of a Gradle project I was working on, how to disable it for the current project. Auto import is disabled by default while editing. Icon is displayed on the top right after you make changes. 2020, blah, blah, blah. Auto reload. Oh, okay. Oh, so it's this. Okay. What happens if I just Google this as is, right? I mean, duck it. Yeah, I'm not really using Google right now unless I have a very specific search. Okay, let's do one more thing. Let's search Google for that. So what does Google return? More or less the same thing. Import Gradle. Import Gradle. Projects pop up. Clear the checkbox against modules if you don't want to delete the project. Unlink a linked Gradle project. Oh, that's ignore a Gradle project. No, that's not a git ignore. That's something else. Orphan modules, reload a linked Gradle project, re-import your project. What does this? Okay, out of these, are there any files that I actually care about? Because I don't see any IML files. They should be inside. Yeah, I don't see any IML files, do I? So inside .idea, what do we have? Artifacts compiler. Yeah, I don't see a compiler. I don't see a jar. Oh, I do see a jar repository. Okay. I see. Okay. Uncomment if using auto import. Okay. All of these are commented out, by the way. Anything which starts with a hash in a gitignore file is commented out. So we do have a jar repositories. I think we have a modules as well. Not actually sure. Yeah, the workspace has to be ignored. I don't know what miscellaneous is. What does that have? Oh yeah. This certainly sounds like it should be ignored because it specifies the the project JDK name and a bunch of other things. Yeah, which I don't think we should be, because someone else who imports this project might not have the same JDK level. They might not want to put the outputs in the same directory as what I'm doing. Like I'm putting it inside this project dir slash out, which I am not actually sure where they are. Yeah, I don't think that's going to be created until we write some code inside main slash Kotlin. Yeah, I'm pretty sure that those are just going to appear inside. Yeah, okay. So yeah, so for the most part, like I don't think we've created this out folder yet. I think a separate generated folder is going to come out, which will have that data, but yeah, we don't have to worry about it for now. Actually, let's do one other thing, right? Let's create a new Kotlin class, right? And we are gonna call this example, and we will drop this into a package. Me dot set dot throwaway, right? And change package. Yeah, okay, that's right. Oh yeah, I forgot. In Kotlin, okay, so Kotlin, unlike Java, you can actually put the code into any package and any folder. Like I can write anything in this package thing, and that's completely independent from the folder that this is in. But it is in general good practice to put it in the right. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna delete that. I'm gonna right click. No, I can do it from here. Refactor move, and we're gonna move it. Okay. Wait, what? Does it not move copy? Shit. I'm so used to Java. Yeah, let's do that. Right. So inside this, I'm gonna call this me darts. Oh, okay. Oh, it's supposed to be at the end of that. So me dart said throw away. Okay, there we go. Fantastic. And now it's inside this folder, which is nice because we just, when we want to get rid of this, we're just gonna delete that, right? So I am gonna declare a variable inside this called val check me out is equal to 1, right? And this here is gonna be, I'm just gonna put the thing here as there we go, dot check me out. Okay, awesome. So that makes it says that this is used and that this checks that this variable is equal to that. Yeah, and let's just run this because that's gonna force the build, and let's just make sure that everything works. Whoa, okay, fantastic. I'm just gonna force this test to fail as well, just to make sure that it's not just passing for some stupid reason. Yes, awesome. It expects, yes, awesome. It expects 2, but was 1. Yeah, okay. So we're just gonna fix that, make that 2, and we will run the test again, and that should hopefully make this test pass. Awesome. Cool. Okay, so now do we have an out folder? I'm trying to understand what this, because we have a classes Kotlin which has example, and we have a test which has example test, but we don't actually have an out folder, which is a bit weird. Is that for something else? What's this? What is this? I don't know. Okay, we're just gonna ignore that for now. We're just gonna not think about it. But okay, so modules.xml. Okay. IML files, we don't actually have an IML file. So these are all files that IntelliJ creates, right? So we don't have an IML file. idea/modules, We don't have that either. We don't have an IDE modules folder. Okay. And star.iml, star.ipr, it doesn't seem like we have any of those. So yeah, I don't have to worry about this. Okay, cool. So what about the .gradle folder itself? Okay, I think that's gonna come later. CMake, Mongo Explorer plugin, all of this stuff I think is just literally just stuff that the IntelliJ thing puts by default. We don't want any of that. Out. Okay, the out folder is ignored already, but we don't actually have an out folder. That's fine. That's fine. Um, no idea what any of this is. I think these are like specific plugins. Like if you install the Jira plugin or if you install the cursive closure plugin, they're going to create stuff. They're going to create files which you have to add to your ignore, because these things are all part of your configuration, like your personal configuration. Oh yeah, Crashlytics. I know what Crashlytics is, but we're not going to be using that either, at least for now. At least, yeah, I mean that's like completely an Android thing. When we come to the Android part, I don't know if we'll require it, probably not, but since we're trying to keep, at least from a conceptual point, we're trying to keep things simple. Yeah, but okay. Editor based REST client, HTTP requests. um let's see, caches, IntelliJ patch. Okay, I don't really care about any of this stuff. IML. Okay. So I'm going slow with this, but I kind of want to do this properly, right? So okay, these are all plugins. I don't care. Okay, Kotlin, finally. Okay, so compiled class files. Anywhere where we see a started class, we're going to ignore it. Where we see a started log, we're going to ignore it. I don't know what this is, but we're going to ignore it. We are not going to push jar files. We're not going to push nar files, zip files. Zip files, okay. I don't know if we should keep that in. Let's keep it in for now. If we actually want to commit something later on and it's a zip file and it doesn't get added, we will know and we will be able to bump this line off if we require it. But for now, let's just keep it, right? So yeah, okay. Gradle, okay, awesome. So .gradle, everything in this .gradle folder is going to get ignored. That's beautiful. Okay, the build folder is going to get ignored. That's also beautiful. Okay. What else? Gradle app.setting, I don't see that here, but if it gets generated, oh, it's GUI config. Okay, so we aren't really accessing Gradle via a GUI, like an external GUI. I think Gradle has a GUI of its own, like it has an application which you can actually install and trigger your builds from there or something like that. But we just have this little menu right here, which is nice, good enough for us, so we don't really care, so that's fine. Avoid ignoring Gradle wrapper jar file. .jar files are usually ignored. Okay, so we don't want to ignore the Gradle wrapper .jar file. Okay, because we are ignoring all jar files, we want to unignore, and this exclamation mark sort of reverts the rule that has been set earlier, and it unignores a specific file, and that's fine, right? So workaround utrack.jetbrains, but it's commented out. I don't know if I want that in. What is this issue? What does this say? This is a JetBrains issue. This is an IntelliJ issue, right? So Gradle W and Gradle wrapper properties are updated if the Gradle import configured as use customizer Gradle. What? When importing a Gradle based project and selecting use customizable Gradle wrapper, the project is imported, but these files are updated. Okay. Gradle file seems to have exactly the same content. File modification time is touched. Okay. Properties file has a single modified line that contains a comment with a timestamp. Okay. Okay. Is this a closed issue? Yeah, it's fixed. Okay. What does this say? Do I really care about this? Is this a problem for me right now? I don't know. Doesn't seem like it. Doesn't seem like it. So for now, I'll leave that as the default. Gradle patch, blah, blah, blah. Okay. And that's gonna be a folder. What is this icon? Oh, okay. IntelliJ is doing some clever shit for, you know, yeah, it's actually doing some really clever stuff. Okay, we do want to commit this file. As far as I know, we do actually want to commit the gradle w and gradle w.bat files. um so yeah, let's just see now that we have the git ignore. When we initialize a git repository, which we will do using this, and we run git status. So for me, I can run git s because I have aliased status. So that's gonna be in git config -l alias. I don't remember. Uh, Git config global. Wait. Git list aliases. I have a bunch of them. Oh. Okay. That's amazing. If that works, that's actually amazing. Can I actually just copy paste this? Get regular expression. Okay, and it strips out that part, and let's do that. And I'll run git alias. There we go. There we go. Fantastic. Okay. So apart from this one, which I just configured, the others I have are git s for status and git co for checkout, right? So whenever I type git s, it basically means git status, git co is git checkout, and we will just use that. So that's just to avoid confusion right off the bat. So, and of course, we might add more as we go on. So git status, let's see what else. So we need to add in the git ignore file. Obviously, we have to commit that. What inside the .idea folder do we actually need to commit, right? Untracked files present. Okay. Build.gradle.kts. We actually do want to keep the build.gradle file, don't we? So yeah, and the reason everything's red and green right now is because any file that has not yet been, let's put it this way, like any file that has not been tracked yet by Git is gonna appear in red. Any file that is ignored or is in its sort of its latest thing is gonna appear in green, I think. No, any file that is ignored is gonna appear in green, and white would be anything which is just in like, so I mean the folders obviously not, but the files themselves. White would be once we actually do commit it, and we are at that state right now. So that's just to explain why the colors changed. It's just due to Git. Once we commit it, you will see them changing once more once it refreshes. We will use Git from the command line for everything. We won't be using the IntelliJ tools because I don't actually like them. I don't think like it makes sense to be dependent on IntelliJ for everything, including your version control. Using Git from the command line is a lot more powerful. So yeah. I think, yeah, okay. So what do I do with this? Okay, so let me just verify that. Okay, wait, what about this local.properties? It's empty. I don't know what I should do with it. I don't know if I should commit this actually. Gradle git commit ignore, typical git ignore. Okay, just make sure of this. So, oh, okay. Gradle wrapper, Gradle wrapper properties. We don't actually have that, but we do have Gradle properties. There's a lot of files actually. I mean, src, yes, of course. We do want to commit in the source, which contains the test and everything. That's absolutely a thing we want to commit. So we want to commit this. We want to commit, I think the Gradle W and the Gradle W.bat files for sure. What about the Gradle folder? Like inside this, we have, oh, we have the wrapper itself. Oh, we do want to keep the Gradle wrapper.jar and the Gradle wrapper properties. Okay. Okay. We want to keep these two. Okay. Because that gives us the specific Gradle version to use. So we want to keep the Gradle folder. We want to keep the Gradle W. We want to keep the Gradle W.bat. We, okay. I'm not actually sure. Yeah, I mean, yeah, of course, of course. We do want to keep the build.gradle. I'm an idiot. We do want to keep the build.gradle because that's really what tells us how to build this project. So project configuration files can be added to Git, view files. What files? Why? Why do you want to add these to Git? I thought we shouldn't add these to Git. What? Wait, by add, do they mean to stage it? Because I think we are already kind of taking these files. Yeah, except for the workspace in Gradle.xml. Everything else, we are kind of, yeah, project directory, VCS Git, VCS directory mappings, okay. This just appeared, by the way, since we initialized the Git repository in it. This just appeared. Code styles, we do actually want to commit the code style configs, yeah. We do want to commit the code style configs because it tells us to use tabs, which is amazing. Yeah, okay. So yeah, we don't want to commit that. Code style config, okay. Jar repositories. Yeah, I think it's fine. I think, yeah. Okay. So let's do that. Let's do a git add dot, and it gives us a bunch of warnings because we are on Windows, but when Git stores data, it kind of keeps it in the Linux line ending format, which is using just the line feed instead of CRLF. So what we are running is the carriage return / line feed, which is on Windows, which is fine. But let's just go over this once more. Yes, we want this. Yes, we want this. Yes, we want this. We do want the encodings.xml file because that tells us that this whole project is encoded using UTF-8 with no byte order mark, which is good. It tells IntelliJ how to read these files, which is really nice. We have ignored the Gradle.xml. We do want the jar repositories, I think, because it tells IntelliJ where to find the libraries. But for the most part, yeah, I think auto import is turned off, right? I don't actually know. That's the thing. Like, we should ignore this if, I mean, we can always go back and, like unfuck our repository, but I don't actually want to do that. I would prefer not having to do it rather than, okay, whatever. That's fine. That's fine. Miscellaneous. Oh, we want to commit this. That's weird. Just a second. What does this have? This is meant to be version controlled. Okay, okay, okay. Cool, cool. Okay. It's meant to be version controlled. Okay. Okay. Yeah, there is an official support page, XML, task.xml, share all IML module files. Do not copy this file. Copy the file generated by the website. Okay, yeah, sure. That's an example. Okay. Mm-hmm. Okay. Ignore something. You can go to gitignore.io. Very helpful for you to easily find. what you wanna. Yeah, sure. Okay, okay. We'll leave that as default. Gradle Maven. Yeah. Okay. We will leave that as default. Okay. So let's do it. Let's do it. Let's commit, right? So the git status, rm, cache, blah, blah, blah. Okay, whatever. We have all the files that we actually want to do. So git commit. And the message is going to be initial commit, right? Exclamation point, because we are fun. And there we go. And of course, here it's fine. And once this refreshes, everything's white again because we are, yeah, because we are good. So let's just close all this, right? So, okay, cool. So we are actually done with the Git setup. That was a lot faster than I expected it to be. Basically, we have ignored a few folders which we are not going to commit to Git because those are generated, and we've just kind of kept our, oops, okay. Oh, that's the end of 25 minutes. Okay, cool. So we did this in exactly 25. That's kind of bog. What do we do next, right? So yeah, actually we'll come to that. So the reason I put this is to remind myself to get up, stretch, get a little bit of water, things like that. So I'm actually going to do that. I just realized that we don't actually have music because I've really been in my own thoughts with this. So let me just do that. GitHub.audio. Yeah, okay. I think that should be a reasonable volume. I'm not actually sure. Maybe we can bump it up slightly. Yeah, okay. That should be a reasonable volume. I'm just gonna leave this here for now, and I am gonna let me just do this. Preview program. Okay. What do I do here? Okay. I am just gonna put in a small little bit of text here. Okay. Cool. So I will be back in a minute or so. Let me just, grab some water, a couple of other things. In the meantime, I will, yeah, I'll see you guys in like a couple of minutes. Howdy, yo. Okay, so we should be back. Yeah, so the timer just went off, and yeah, it's a little bit of a shorter break than I'm really used to, but at the same time, it's fine. Like, I just do this in order to refill my water, which I keep like right here. So yeah, I just keep a water bottle right next to me. I use the break to kind of just stretch my legs, walk around, refill the bottle. And that's really important, by the way, because for the most part, what happens is that you don't actually have a you don't actually have like a handle on how much time you spend on a lot of this stuff. So what happens is when you have something like this, which keeps you in focus, right? Okay, this is what I'm working on right now. This is how much time I have spent on it. And this is when I need to get up, sort of stop, let my brain reset, take a break, let myself stretch a little bit, and yeah, and keep myself hydrated. So it kind of helps me stay aligned on that, which prevents burnout, which is like a huge thing. So of course, I don't really expect to have like burnout from this, at least not yet. But at the same time, it is something that I need to keep a lookout for at work, because that really tends to eat into your mental state. And when you have to work long hours, when you kind of have to break your head on things that you didn't actually write, and when you're not really sure how to do things, at that point it's going to be a lot more difficult for you if you don't realize that you have to take breaks pretty often. So I just keep the same kind of environment over there as I do right now. But the thing is that there are a few things which might make it even more necessary to take a break or be a little more flexible with your break schedule, because you have meetings and things like that. So you really have to get comfortable with it, take sort of figure out what works for you, what kind of timings work for you, how long in a day are you supposed to work, and things like that. So as long as you're clear on that, you can just go ahead and just keep writing stuff, building stuff. So we're done with the Git setup, but we don't know what we should do right now. So I'm just gonna add this blanket thing called plan, which I usually do just when I want to plan out what I want to do next. So okay, so we are done with the Git setup. We can actually start writing code. So I think we should work on a very basic bare bones kind of pseudocode style design, right? To kind of understand what is the first thing that we want to do here. So let's do that, right? So the first thing we're gonna do, right, as part of our planning process, is we are gonna figure out like some module, like a basic module to do something, and we are gonna start with it. We're gonna sort of just write a little bit of pseudocode, just enough to get us a little bit of a starting point, a little bit of a hook, right? And once we're clear on that okay, this is how we're gonna begin. Once we're clear on that, we can actually kind of take that ahead and start writing tests for it, and then start writing code for it, and so on, right? So what we're gonna do is fairly simple. So we're gonna, what do you call it? Sketch out basic pseudocode, right? So let's do that, right? So we're gonna do that, and that's gonna automatically add the tag today, because we're working on it today. So let's do that. So I'm gonna use this shortcut. It's just to create a scratch file. A scratch file is something that doesn't actually get created for you. Like, it doesn't actually get created in your repository. It's gonna be just a file that you throw away later, right? So plain text, there we go. Okay, so we have a scratch.txt, right? So we are just gonna use this to sort of plan out what we're gonna do, right? View files. What can we add to Git? We've already added these to Git. What are you asking? Yo. Stupid. Okay. ADHD. No, I'm sorry. I don't think I have ADHD. At least I haven't been diagnosed to have it, but kind of have like a little bit of like, it keeps popping up in the corner for random things and kind of gets on your nerves. Anyway, okay, so pseudocode. So what we're gonna do is we are gonna have to figure out for our expense manager, how are we gonna work through this, and we are going to ignore all of the Android specific components right now because we are working in like pure Kotlin, right? So we are literally going to ignore every single one of the Android components, everything, right? So I'm just going to operate on the basic assumption that I have a piece of text that comes in, right? And oh yeah, by the way, that is a hyphen with a greater than sign, which because of the font I'm using, it's a brilliant font. It's called Input, right? Input is the name of the font. You should check it out. It's on, I don't know, just Google Input font, you'll find it. It's a great font. It's a really great font, and comes with something called font ligatures, which is the nice part that you can actually write stuff like exclamation followed by equal to, and that becomes collapsed to not equal to. So it's great. It's great. It just looks that way. It isn't actually that character, right? It looks that way to you on screen. So it's a really nice way to read code, especially. It makes code a lot more readable, a lot neater. I love it. Anyway, so text comes in, right? And the text that comes in, we are essentially gonna send it to a module, right? Which also accepts a parser, and this is actually gonna be, I'm sorry. What? No. Oh. 28? No. 26? No. 27? No. 24? Yes, 24. Okay, awesome. So this is actually going to be yeah, and that, by the way, is actually an arrow. It's like Alt 24, Alt 24, 24 on the number pad on Windows. That's a thing that works on Windows. Anyway, so we have text that comes in, and the module accepts text, and it accepts a parser for that text, right? I'm calling this a parser, but it's not really a parser. It's just something that extracts data, right, from the text. It essentially tells the module how to extract data from this text, and the module is just gonna spit out the specific transaction, right? Cool. Yeah, so we have an instance of this, and this is gonna be defined. We have one instance of this defined for every different type of text that we expect, right? Yeah, for every different type of text that we expect, which is really going to be we're going to make that differentiation on the basis of sender and a couple of other things, but we're going to pass in a parser, and that's what's going to tell the module like how to create the transaction, right? So I think for the moment, let's just figure out what goes into a transaction, and that's really going to be a simple data class. It's just going to be something that has it's going to be a simple data class. It's going to be something that just holds a little bit of data that identifies what are the different sort of elements that go into a single transaction, right? So if I have to brainstorm that, a few things. So we're not going to actually write any tests for the transaction itself, because the data class, it doesn't actually have any functionality. It's literally meant to just hold data, right? So, but if I have to think about what goes into a transaction itself, and maybe transaction is not the best word for it, but we're going to stick with this for now, right? So if I kind of have to think about what goes into this, it's going to be, let's see. So we obviously have an amount, right? We have an amount, which is the amount that is going to get deducted from your, the thing, right? Yeah. So we have an amount, which is, yeah, it's just gonna be a thing that is deducted from your total or whatever like that. Like it's just gonna mention that this transaction, this expense was like, it was an expenditure of certain amount, right? It's gonna have amount, which the data type is gonna be technically currency. We don't actually have a currency data type. We might have to define one, or we might just use one that already exists, right? We'll probably define one ourselves, and let's see how that goes for the time being. But for the most part, yeah. So there's gonna be an amount which is a currency. There's gonna be, okay. So actually, yeah, I mean, we'll find that out, right? We'll find out what currency libraries are there and things like that. So it's gonna be an amount which is gonna be a currency. There's gonna be a sender, which is gonna be a string, right? So this is just something that lets us, sorry, not a sender. What do you call it? A counterparty. Big words already, but this is just the person who sent you the money or received the money, one of the two. And here's where we have like immediately a typo, and we're just gonna save that to the project level dictionary. So that eliminates the typos, and it also creates the dictionary file, which should be ignored. Dictionaries, yeah, inside that .xml, which is my personal dictionary file, and that's ignored because it's in light green. So yeah, that means it's ignored. That's good. So okay, we have the amount, which is a currency. We have the counterparty, which would be a string. What else would we have? We have the comment, which would be a string, right? Which is something the user adds, as I mentioned last time. What else would we have? We would have the So I'm really just brainstorming, trying to understand the different things I can think of immediately. We have a category, which in our case is going to be a type category, which, because we will associate things along with it, right? We will associate things along with it. We will associate like a name, probably an image, which will sort of define what the category is. It won't be an image, probably just an emoji or something like that, but whatever. We'll leave that for later, but it's gonna have a bunch of things, and it's gotta be an object for that reason. Okay. No, so the question is, can a data class be composed of things that are not data classes? Because otherwise all of this is gonna have to be a data class, right? So Kotlin data class properties constant. Maybe I should have just gone to the other one. Oh, okay. Data classes. Blah blah blah. Okay. The members generation follows these rules. If there are explicit implementations of the supertype, data class has a component and may extend out of the data classes. May extend other classes, CC classes, for example. Okay. Declared in the class body. Yeah. I don't think so. Yeah, I think it should be fine. Right? So a data class can hold references to things that are not data classes, which is good for us because that's kind of what we will need to do. Some of these may be data classes of their own. We'll come to that. But for the most part, yeah, since that's not a necessity, that's good. So amount, currency, counterparty, category. What else do we have? Can't actually think of anything else. So I think we can kind of, and of course the account that we link this transaction with, right? So it's essentially gonna be that you have an account which holds a list of transactions, sort of, not a list. Yeah, it's gonna be some sort of a list, right? Like it's essentially gonna be an ordered set of transactions, and of course there's a timestamp, which is gonna be some time thing. I don't know, right? So yeah, okay. So out of these, what can be null? This cannot. This can be null. The counterparty can be null. We don't really care sometimes. The comment can also be, no, the comment won't be null. It'll be an empty string. If we have nothing in it, it'll be an empty string, but we will always have a comment to store there, right? So what about category? Category. Could be null, right? Like if we have no categories defined, we should still be able to, of course, we won't get the benefit of this. We can of course create a default category with always, like right at the start, which we call, like no category, something like that. We can always have that. You know what? Should this be null? Let's find out, right? So if it is null, if we can make it null, we are gonna have to add null checks anywhere where we reference the category out of this. If it cannot be null, then we have to remember to add that bit of code, which is what happens when there are no categories to begin with, right, for a transaction. Like the category in this case is just going to be like the food or transportation, things like that, So okay, so account, okay, time, yeah, we'll have to figure out some time libraries, a bunch of other things, right? Let's find out, because I literally have no idea what kind of libraries are used in Kotlin. A bunch of them would be the same as the libraries that we're using in Java, but some are specifically going to be made with Kotlin in mind, Kotlin interaction in mind. So we're going to be sticking to those libraries if we find them. If we don't, then yeah, whatever. So okay, so I think we can get started, right? We can get started. Let's create that. So inside this, we're going to create a package, and we're going to call that me.sid. This is always going to be the basic stuff, right? So everything else is going to be inside this. So okay, let's call this let's call this core, right? So inside core, we're going to create a new Kotlin class, call it transaction. I'll put it's a class. Sure, add this to Git. Why not? Data class. It's gonna be data class. What does it say? Why is it red? It's already red. Must have at least one primary constructor parameter. So we need to add a constructor for this. So the way we do that is, if I remember right, we are sort of gonna do this, and we're gonna define one of these things, which is the amount. And do we have a currency thing? You've got to be kidding me, right? Is this a thing we have? I need to know what this is immediately. And of course, let's search both of these things. Android ICU, data type for currency in Kotlin. New news, big decimal. Okay. There's big decimal. Okay. Oh, this represents a currency. Okay, so this represents a currency like dollars or euros or Japanese yen. It doesn't represent the amount, which is sad. Okay. Why is this? Okay. Monetary amount, simpler and safer. Oh. Oh, it's to be called money, but it doesn't actually exist. Data type you use for money. Big decimal. Okay, big decimal. Cool. Let's find out. I have used big decimal before, but I've never actually sort of, yeah, I've never actually set up like a fresh project with it. So, okay, let's do that. Java.math.big decimal. Okay. Immutable, arbitrary precision signed decimal numbers. Okay. Never used this in my life. Okay. Joda money? Double for money. I mean, technically we can use double. A lot of places do use double. My own place uses double. Yeah, that's true. That's true. Actually, I don't know if in Kotlin, because Kotlin has a bunch of cool functions. Kotlin big decimal. Yeah. Extensions for java.math.big decimal. That's beautiful. Okay. So I can actually use these things. Because that would actually be fantastic if I could. Hang on. Let me just take this one out. And big decimal. Okay. And can I do an amount? Okay, wait. Okay, just give me a second. Okay. Let's see. Yeah, we can use big decimal. That's nice. Okay. I might have to cut the stream early, guys. Friend is calling me to play Apex. I don't think I want to stream that yet. I am too ass at Apex, so I'm not very enthused by the concept. Let's put it that way. So okay, so we leave it. Yeah, we'll put that as big decimal. We will keep counterparty as string. Well, counterparty as string. Okay, and comment string. Okay, and category. We don't actually have a category yet, right? So I'll just leave that out actually for now, right? To do no. Okay, and account. We don't have the account type either. Maybe this was the wrong place to start off with. Account. We'll keep this as a string for now. Actually, we'll keep the category as also as a string, right? So okay. And finally, timestamp. as time. Do we have it? Date. Yeah, util.date. Right. Okay. Cool. That's what we want. That's what we want, right? So we want the timestamp to sort of, represent a date. And out of these, the counterparty is nullable, and the category is also nullable for now. So we're going to leave those as nullable types. Of course, the category is not going to be string. The account is not going to be string, but we will change that, right? So for now, I'm just going to add a test for this. Create new test, and I'm going to call that transaction test. And we are just going to test. So you can see that it generates a bunch of functions for me, right? So we're really just going to test the amount because I want to see how big decimal works. me.setCore, okay, and all right, okay. What does this say? Do you want to add the following file to Git? Sure, why not? And this tried to make a JUnit 5 test for me, which is sad. That's not something I want. I still want this to do a JUnit 4. So I'm just going to take that out. I'm going to write add test over there. There we go. Okay. And I have no idea why it's constantly trying to create like a JUnit 5 thing for me. Transaction test. Yeah. Okay. So we're going to test the getAmount function, right? And the way we're going to do that is we're going to create, actually, let's just create a setup function, right? So add before, and we are going to create a transaction. Okay. And we have to provide all of this stuff. So, big decimal, and we're going to give it what are we gonna do? Yeah, we pass it a string essentially, right? So we're gonna give it an amount of 34.25, and we are gonna, we might actually have to save the currencies as well, right? So we'll figure that out. So counterparty string. Okay, so that's gonna be the seller for this, which I'm gonna call Walmart, right? So yeah, we spent 34.25 rupees at Walmart. The comment is a string, and what did we buy for 34.25? We bought rubber ducks, and category is gonna be fun. It's just a string for now, but later on we are gonna have to write actual categories in there. The account is okay for now. Again, this is a string. This is not supposed to be a string at all. This is 100% supposed to be an identifier. So actually, I'm just gonna change that. I'm just gonna make that an integer, right? So I'm gonna make that an integer, and so over here we can give 5, account number 5. We are tracking 5 different accounts, assuming, and we're gonna create a date. Dot now, I think. No. Yeah, there we go. Nah, it's just date, isn't it? Yeah, okay. So we're gonna do that, and that's just gonna create a thing for us, which we are going to save inside a field. I'm sorry, what? Right click, refactor, introduce variable property, parameter property, target code block. Oh, okay. What? Really? What do you mean you can't introduce the property? Dude, this is a constructor, is it not? Introduce variable, single variable. Yeah, and I'm just gonna call that var transaction. Cool. transaction. Okay. Must be initialized to be abstract. Okay. Question mark. Okay. Cool. Okay. Yeah, there we go. There we go. And now we are gonna call assert assert equals okay, assert equals transaction dot amount. Oh, okay, that's not the expected amount, that's the actual, right? And yep, we're gonna have to do that because it's nullable. I don't want it nullable though. Oh yeah, I forgot. I can do this. By lazy, I think. No, sorry. Late in it. Fantastic. Okay, that's what we need. Right, and here we don't need that anymore. And it's gonna be, what do we expect? We expect 34.25, right? Okay, I'll just leave this here for now. What does it say? Oh, right. I mean, the types are wrong, of course. But cool. Let's run that. And let's just make sure these values are equal. Yeah, it fails. Why does it fail? Oh, okay. Yeah, no. Yeah, I mean, of course. Yeah, it fails. I'm sorry. This is 2.5, right? Yeah, okay. So we are gonna actually have to, yeah, okay. Let's just run this now and see what happens. It's failing. It's gonna fail because it's 34.23 but was 34.25, and we are gonna make that 2.5 and we are gonna run it. Cool. So this is giving me a bunch of ideas. One is we need to essentially make a money wrapper around big decimal, because right now I realize that using big decimal I can essentially put out any precision, right? Like I can put out this whole thing is a valid amount for big decimal, right? But we want to limit it to only 2 decimal places here and 2 decimal places here. I hope there are no currencies on the planet which have like a different way of doing that, right? So yeah, so that's one thing. And the other is, okay, that's pretty much it actually. What else can we think of? Yeah, I think the rest of it is just gonna happen as we write software. We have to figure out this, and we'll leave that over here because that's really just a small design decision which we will change as we come across it. But for the most part, yeah, I think we can actually go ahead and stop this right here. I won't commit this because this is not anywhere near complete, right? So we kind of need to add a lot more tests, a lot more code. This is not even using TDD because honestly, this is just a data class. It doesn't do anything. And for the most part, I don't even want to keep this around, right? This is just so that I can test how big decimal works. I don't want to keep this around. I'm just going to delete this test later on when I don't feel like I need it, right? So of course it can be private. Yeah. So, okay, that's about it, and I shall end this right here for now. Thanks for watching, if to anyone who was out there. Thanks guys. I shall see you again tomorrow. Most likely we will have a morning stream. I'll try to keep it in the morning if I manage to wake up early enough. I just want to shift these to the mornings, away from these late times when I'm already done with work and stuff and not really in the right frame of mind. In the mornings I'm a little bit more alert, a little bit more awake, so I think we can try to shift this to the morning if possible. But yeah, that's about it. So see you.